abnormality in Mary's latest mammogram. She immediately ordered another test, followed by a biopsy. And now the results were in. That big C was written on the chart of Mary's life. My wife was now that one woman in 8. Our children must be told. The 2 oldest were living at home and were soon informed. But our youngest daughter was 3 hours away at college, and Mary decided to drive to Western Ohio and spend the weekend with her. Realizing that mother and daughter needed the time together, I decided to stay at home. That meant a weekend apart from my wife, and we'd been dealt a numbing blow. I found myself reverting to one of my own stress relievers, dreaming about hiking in the woods without a care. For years, one of my favorite daydreams had been about thru-hiking the Appalachian Trail, AT. I nursed the dream tenderly, but never thought it could become reality. Mary knew how much I loved hiking, and I had often shared my dream with her. So with my wife's blessing, I did more than daydream. While she visited our daughter, I spent my weekend at Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, the headquarters for the AT. Harper's Ferry is where abolitionist John Brown raided the U.S. Armory in his fight against slavery. Today, it is also the location of the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. The state of West Virginia has only 4 miles of the 2,176 that make up the Appalachian Trail, and those 4 miles of trail go right through this little town. I explored a small section of trail in both directions from town. A short distance south is Jefferson Rock, a high stone outlook where Thomas Jefferson once stood and admired the view of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers rushing together in the valley below. I walked a little farther south to where U.S. Highway 340 crosses the Shenandoah River. There, the Appalachian Trail disappears up into the surrounding hills. What was up there, around the next bend, over the next mountain? I stood for a long time, contemplating what it would be like to hike the 1,000 miles from Harper's Ferry to Springer Mountain, Georgia, the trail's southern terminus. I promised myself that one day I would come hiking out of those woods and down into Harper's Ferry. I'd cross town and follow the trail across the footbridge over the Potomac River and hike along the C&O Canal towpath northward into Maryland, exploring every bend in the trail, soaking up every scene, with my sights set on the AT's northern terminus, mighty Mount Katahdin in Baxter State Park, Maine. Someday. After stopping at the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, where I picked up some valuable trail information, I wanted to visit one more historical site. St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church, built in 1833, was the only church in Harper's Ferry to escape destruction during the Civil War. Its steeple soars above the little town, and the trail passes within several feet of the church's front door. I'd never been inside a Catholic church in my life, but I felt compelled to enter this church to pray. I was the only person in the sanctuary. I knelt and prayed for Mary and our family, for strength and wisdom for the journey ahead. I believed that God could heal my wife if He chose, and I pleaded with Him for that healing. This conservative Mennonite boy was on his knees in the old Catholic church, knowing how much we needed what only God could give. We would fight. We determined to learn everything we could about breast cancer. We knew that the right treatment increased the survival rate for breast cancer patients. We were hopeful that would be the case for Mary. We researched, looking for the place to get the best treatment. We soon learned that health insurance coverage would define our choices. Discussions with Mary's doctor and the insurance company determined that a mastectomy was necessary. The next week was full of meetings with staff and surgeons, one of whom was the plastic surgeon who would immediately construct a new breast, using both an implant and muscle tissue from Mary's back. A mastectomy